Well, I felt bad. I did not think he fouled him. I mean, I'll be honest about it. That disappointed me. I thought Payne was getting killed down low, killed. And so that was frustrating for him, and he said something. And then I just thanked him. And I said, hey, you know what? I don't know if I could have gone through what you went through. I mean, we all know he's not probably half the player he was. And it's not from lack of work. It's just the way the cards he was dealt. And, I could have played Trice a little more maybe as that was asked to me, but he was struggling to get the ball up the court, and that where Keith wasn't. But I felt bad for Keith, I mean, it just seemed like he had a couple of tough calls on those. I thought we checked them pretty good. I thought there were a couple tough calls.
Tom, how difficult is it to see that streak end for the season?
You know what? It ain't difficult. I hate to say it, but it's not. I mean, I'm a big believer. I've been in it long enough. You get what you deserve. We did not deserve to win tonight, guys. We probably played better defense than I thought. As I was telling a few guys, if you hold a team to 34% shooting and 22 from the three and out-rebound them, you'd win 99% of your games. And the turnovers and then some of the free throws, were tough. But we just weren't. We didn't seem mentally as sharp as we needed to be. We started out poor. We looked drained, and I don't know. Somebody said it was a late night the other night. They were 2 hours difference, big deal. I think it was the season, then the travel to the Big Ten, then out to, I think we just kind of wore down. I mean, we did very little in our day in between, and so maybe it wasn't our time, wasn't our turn. The streak, yeah, it's important, but the streak's more important to the team and the players than it is to the coach. I've been in Final Fours that we didn't deserve to be in. I kept the streak alive, and I've been in final. I think I've been a couple that we should have been in that we weren't. So, in the end, it always works out, and disappointing, yeah. But things like that aren't why I coach. You don't get a banner for that.
Players are obviously disappointed, but there seemed to be a real sense talking to them that they understand the highs and lows they've been through this season, and there's still a sense of accomplishment coming back from where they were in January and early February.
Well, I don't think there's any question. I mean, as I told a few of you here at some of our press conferences, when it's all said and done, we'll sit down and talk about what they really went through. It was an out-of-body experience. It was for me, for them. I can't tell you how hard those press conferences were. And now that it's over, I can at least say that. Not anything you guys did either. I was always feeling like I was half lying to you and half not telling you and half making excuses. I was so sick of it that I didn't even want to show up at a few of them because I didn't know what to say. But it was way worse than what I did say. And for that, I give them a lot of credit. I mean, I can't even tell you how much they had to put up with as far as grinding it. But at the same time, you hate to end it like this because sometimes, like if we would have lost the other night, I would have said, you know what, we played our best and lost. And when you lose like now, I give all the credit to UConn. I really mean that too. I give him way more credit than me. He had him more ready to play than I did. But we didn't play very well, and they were part of the reason. But you can't give them credit for some of those turnovers for touchdowns.
Was it strange that the turnovers were in both halves? I'm sure you were trying to push the buttons to try to get them to snap out of it, but
they were in both halves, but they were in stretches. In other words, that game started. I think at halftime, my assistants told me they had 21 points, 12 or 14 were off turnovers, and a couple offensive rebound putbacks. We don't give up very often. Well, that means our half-court defense was phenomenal. And, I thought we shrunk the court. We did everything we could. They didn't get in the lane much. Second half, Payne was really tired. And I had to keep him in there, and that was hard. But he was getting knocked around in there pretty good, and that's harder too, when you're tired already. But I don't know. I was disappointed that both stretches. We were 9 up, and then we just made a couple of crazy decisions, and we just didn't look like came out of a timeout and ran something completely different. That hasn't happened, to be honest with you, all year with subs or no subs.
Did this game more than any other this season epitomize the difference between freedom of movement on the perimeter and fouls versus physicality inside and not having that same
Well,
carryover?
I didn't know that it was supposed to be, there was supposed to be a fifth. I thought it was called the same way everywhere. It was supposed to when the year started. I didn't know that they, are you telling me that they changed the rule on me and it was
Well, it's something you've
touch
talked about a
fouls
lot, that it's been
out there
different.
and a fist fight inside? That's, well, you know, I would like to find that out, but I hope they feel good about they got what they wanted. I still like Tony Bennett, you know. Our game was a man's game and man played it, and both teams played hard and physical, and to me that was a fun game, you know, this touch foul stuff. You know, if that's what they want, they got it, and I've been displeased with it all year. Ain't gonna change now. It wouldn't change if we went to a Final Four. I just don't think it's any fun. I think it puts a lot of pressure, and I think your best players are sitting on the bench.
You've had a front row, you've had a front row seat for Keith and AP's growth and transformation in this program. Looking back now, what's it been like to see that and see the men that they've grown into?
You know, both guys have come a long ways, and you know, very few times do you see guys grow socially, athletically, and academically. And you know, those graduations will be special ones. You know, they weren't two guys that came in maybe with that on their front of their minds, and not only did they do it, but they did it in 4 years. And just the stuff off the court, Adrian's done a heck of a job on a lot of that. Keith has grown too. He really has. Sometimes we don't appreciate that some of these kids have had a little tougher coming up than others, and I love those guys. You know, I love Keith's fight and fire, but it was really hard on Keith. I mean, he just couldn't do half what he was doing. I mean, him and I sat down a couple nights ago before we came out here and looked at his first 20 game stats, and it's almost mind-boggling to look at, you know, 10, 12 shots a game, shooting 50%, 60%, and then all of a sudden, whammo, you know. So that's been hard on that kid, and he's hung in there. He hasn't, you know, hasn't really complained about it, dealt with it. I'm not sure I could have done as good a job as Keith did.
Did that reduce him vocally during this tournament?
Oh, yeah, you know, Judd Heathcote always had a great line, and it's true that hard to lead others when you're struggling with your own game, you know. And not only was he struggling with his own game, but, you know, he just knew that the things he had done, the things he had worked all spring, summer, and fall on, I mean, you saw it, guys. He couldn't shoot the ball, and he worked. I mean, he was in there mornings working, and, you know, some of it was his confidence, some of it was his form went, and yet, you know, I thought he did more than you think tonight, guarding Shabazz. I mean, I thought a couple of those, like I said, you know, I'd say a couple of them were close anyway, but he didn't get in the paint. He didn't do things. I mean, the guy played good, but he didn't just go off. And not for the free throws, I think we would have. The rest of the team, I thought we handled pretty well.
Tom, did you see anything like this coming in your team? Like you said, kind of wore down at the end?
I didn't. I was a little concerned, you know. We flew back from Gonzaga, and we got in at 6 in the morning, and, you know, we didn't practice really well. And, you know, you always listen to people, and they tell you, watch out for those glasses down there. I don't want you to step on your glasses. But I didn't see it coming like this because we didn't show that the other night. Now, getting home at 1:30, quarter to 2, probably doesn't help that, and I think it affected some. But like I said, they got in 2 hours earlier, big deal. I think there's some issues that we have to look at, but that didn't have any difference in this game, if you ask me.
Does this become Denzel's team now? Are you looking at it that way?
You know, I don't know. I mean, Denzel's got a, you know, he's got a ways to go now. I mean, the turnovers that everybody gets mad at me for getting mad at him. There were some foolish ones tonight. And I think it's going to be my team for a while. And I'm going to figure out exactly. But this year, this spring, it'll be somebody's team. It'll be somebody's team. I won't do what I did last year. I don't regret it. I had to do what I had to do as far as not really naming somebody and this and that, but that'll now change, and it'll be somebody's team. But who's yet? It's got to be someone who leads. Denzel's a good candidate. It's got to be someone who plays disciplined. He's going to have to keep growing in that area, and there has to be someone who cares, and he's off the charts on that. So, yeah, I'd probably say he's leaning towards that, but he's got to do some work yet.
Is this the type of season that makes you want to get away and reflect on it a little more than normal, or get back to work quicker more than normal?
What a deep question. And the hardest season since I've been here. Maybe because I'm getting a little older, but I don't really think so. I just think that it's just been a tough year. All the things you hoped, I said we'll never be back to where we were, and I don't think we were. But it's been a enjoyable year because I saw so much adversity and guys kind of fight their way through it. And I'm not a great guy taking days off. They can take some time off. They deserve that. And I'll what is tomorrow, Monday? I'll take half a day and figure out what I'm going to do, and then just probably keep moving on. I think we got some good things. Everybody will worry about where the team's at. A good lesson to learn for everybody. Who's left standing? Where was UConn picked? Where was, different teams picked? Where were the freshmen picked? Everybody thinks they have this thing figured out, and I don't think that it's figure-outable because there's an X factor here. Kids are distracted in many ways nowadays by many things. I'm not going to put my advertisement in today. I vow that one for today. But they are distracted by many things, and finding guys that are not. And one guy that we got that I think is not is a Travis Trice too. And we just got to get him through a summer where he can, he had a pretty good one and then he got hurt sick during the year, but and get him up about 20 pounds. And I actually loved the way Travis played. He was our sixth man and a very good one most of this year.
Obviously Gary has a decision that'll unfold in the next few weeks, but does Brandon have a decision?
You know what, guys? You and I might have a decision. I mean, I don't know anymore. I don't follow that. I don't talk about it to him. I've talked to Gary a little bit. Better play better than he did today. But if this day and age, I've seen more guys go. Nothing that Brandon ever talks about to me. I'm sure tomorrow and the next day we'll sit down and talk. I think it's worked out good for AP, but I definitely would never, ever want a guy here that thinks he should be gone. So what I would tell Brandon is he better figure it out. Better figure out what's best for him and what's his best opportunity. Because if it's, oh, geez, I got to go back, then I'd wish you were gone. If it's, oh, geez, I get to come back, then I think the kid could make tremendous strides if he kept working. If he doesn't keep working, then I think you're better off gone. Give AP some credit that he did that. I think AP had a lot on his plate, too. We've made a big deal about Lacey. We've made a small deal about it. What I mean is it's been made blown up out of proportion. But what is hard that isn't blown up is a kid really honestly has a sincere interest in her. It's not made for TV. It's not reality TV. And there's been times when, we get the call that she's back in the hospital, and, it bothers him. So, I don't know. I feel very comfortable with Gary that he'll talk to me, or his parents will all talk, and he'll make the right decision according to maybe first of all, what he wants to do, and second of all, what the NBA shares, how many number one quarterbacks have we had, by the way? Anybody know?
First round quarterback here?
Yeah, this year. It started out, this guy was going to be, then Menzel's going to be, then Menzel's going to be a third round pick, and then, if there's an exact science to it, someone's got to tell me what it is. And I think that's the one thing I learned in this draft here with football. I talked to Mariucci about it. It's amazing. You can easily see why there's a lot of missed picks, because we're looking at one day, or he threw with shoulder pads on, or rap music on, or short pants on, or long pants on, and that made a difference. And I'm just blown away by some of that. So
I'm sorry, you touched upon it a second ago about how tough the season has been, and is it the type of season that has you doing some kind of life assessing things in your head?
No,
Because
it really
sometimes
doesn't.
you do
Yeah,
that at the end of the year.
I do. I mean, everybody does. But, I mean, you know what? I work more hours this year than I probably have in my life. And more in these past 3 weekends than I have in my life. You know what? I ran my 45 minutes this morning at 8 o'clock on a treadmill and probably felt the best I felt in my life. Disappointed. I'm disappointed because I know you don't get many opportunities to do this. This was a special group because of what they went through. Why? You know, I will beat myself up for a week on why we laid an egg. And God, when I say that, I feel like I'm taking something away from UConn, so please don't think that. I just didn't think it was the way we played. Some of our worst games, I thought we played better and looked better than I thought we did today, and the stats prove it. I'm just amazed on what happened.
In the past, you've gotten a good vibe on walkthroughs and things like that. Did you get any vibe?
Well, that was one of the
clue?
problems
Any
here.
clue?
You know, as much as I like New York, there were some issues there. There just weren't a lot of walk-through space. There wasn't. Hotels aren't like they are in the Midwest, where they have ballrooms that aren't occupied most of the year. You know, you're in New York, the ballrooms. I mean, our hotel was a zoo. You know, it was. I never seen anything like our hotel. I mean, and that'd be one thing I'd like to talk to the NCAA about. I mean, I think it's hard, and I love the Garden. Everything was great, but there were some, you know, when you're trying to think about going to practice and travel and traffic and walkthroughs of the hotel, I mean, there wasn't much of that. And that is something that we've always lived on. And so you hit on something that I don't want to make a big deal about, but I will be making some deal about because I didn't think it was real good.
You said you don't regret not. You say you don't regret not naming a guy at the beginning of the year. What made you think that was the right route to go with this team, this group?
Because I didn't think I had anybody. You know, I just didn't think I had that kind of person. And it wasn't AP, and it wasn't Keith at the time, and they got along so well together that I didn't think it was necessary. And you know what? I don't regret that. I do think there comes a point in time though where somebody's got to take the bull by the horns. But they kind of did it on their own. Some I don't regret that. I will make a bigger deal about that in the next 3-4 weeks about how somebody has to be able to give us maybe these 3 or 4 criteria that makes you a great leader and live up to it. And I got a couple guys that are definitely scratching the surface of that.
You talked about how you didn't think this team had an identity for a while just because of the injuries and everything. What do you want the identity to be next year, and what do you think it can be?
Defend, rebound, and run. You know, defend, rebound, and run. We defended. We rebounded. We ran decent. And maybe I'll add, don't turn it over, defend, rebound, and run. I might add another one on there, and don't touch anybody either. You know, so they're going to get, treat my players like I treat my daughter's boyfriend, you know, no touch rule, you know.
You talked at one point about not knowing if this team knew who its go-to guy was.
Yeah.
And at the end, there was a play, I think, where they went into pain with maybe a double or triple team. It looked like there was some indecision there.
Yeah,
with the guys.
no question. I mean, we never had that. I told you there were certain things, you know, how do you faithfully talk to you guys? No insult to you guys, but we didn't have that. I didn't want to make all that public at the time because then the social media gets hold of it and it's killing our players, you know, but we didn't have it. Well, I don't think it was their fault. I just don't think we had it. It was just too much. Every 3 weeks, somebody else, somebody different, and then the feel. And I think that definitely hurt us, you know. Even with Keith at the end, you know, he got him in foul trouble, it hurt. But, you know, we always went with that high ball screen. And you think of some of those early games, Texas and Kentucky and games like that. Even North Carolina, I mean, it was a game until he got hurt. You know, we knew what we were going to. It was harder this time. It's been harder. So that was something that I knew, but you know, certain things you can't do anything about, and I couldn't do anything about it.
When you mentioned you got some players that have some opportunities, and you sort of threw yourself in there, looks like you might have. Can you say what you're talking about that, or is that just in general?
No, I mean, you know, Denzel and Travis, I think, you know, are 2 guys that have to be. Gary, if he's here, he'll be a guy that has to be, and figure out which one. Denzel's the most vocal of that bunch. But, the problem when you don't have the one guy, then you got a lot of guys, and AP wants a part of it, and BJ wants a part of it, and this guy wants, and that makes it harder, because everybody does have a voice with me, but you need a guy in that locker room, you need a guy in that hotel room, you need a guy in those huddles that you can go to, and that probably hurt us a little bit this year, but I'm just going to make sure that I don't go that way again if I don't have to. But if I have to, I can't make somebody into something that they're not. And by the way, there's probably 300 and some of the 350 teams that maybe they have a leader superficially. There ain't many that have great ones. I got to stand in a room the other night with Cleves and Magic, and our standards are a little higher here than maybe some, but I'm going to have those two guys help me, and I told Zell that, he spent a lot of time with Irvin, and, I think we got to set some criteria, because it is getting harder to get a leader, the way our society is so soft and so passive and so Twitterish.
But the other stuff that's been out there about you, the NBA stuff, is that, do you
You
think
know-
that'll swirl again, or is?
You want to know the truth? I don't know who it's swirling by. It'd be like, and I mean,
NBA circles, it sounds like.
well, if it was, they're forgetting to call me. But my point would be this: it'd be like a guy looking to go to the NBA player. Those players all want to go. I don't necessarily want to go, but they all want to go. But you got to have somebody that wants you. And I think sometimes when I say that I'm one of a couple of college guys, you got to fill the who's interested, and I think my name comes up. I've been called probably more than you know, but I've probably been called a lot less than people think, and this is one when I told our, I don't know who all was there, but when they talk about a Tom Gores or something, I never met him, I never talked to him, I don't even know him, and I got people writing me and texting me that I know you had a meeting with him, I know you did this, I know you did that, and I think for the most part, I'm pretty honest with you guys. What lurks ahead for me, I really do love it here. My AD and president are phenomenal, and my family likes it here. I've said it, and there's things in the NBA that are frustrating too. But there are some things in college that are very, very frustrating. I don't like the new rules. I'll live with them. When I watch Mike Krzyzewski throw a pen and get a technical, I don't like that. I don't like that. I don't like the way they're doing it. I don't enjoy wearing the number of hats we have to wear. But I'll bet you there's things you guys don't enjoy about your job, like sitting here asking me questions all night, or your boss is mad at you. So I always do appreciate that. I don't think the grass is greener, but the one thing that I didn't have early in my career here that I have now is I think I have consistent support right up the ladder. If it was an NBA team or anything else, there'd have to be an unbelievable support up the ladder, and I don't see that very, very often as I look around. And the ones that are, Tom Izzo isn't getting that job, I can promise you that.